Hello YouTube, welcome to my Wild Rift video. Today you will see my first gameplay using this latest champion, Urgot the Dreadnought. Most importantly, the things I learned that could help improve your own gameplay. Before moving on, only to share with you, I was at least able to enter this season master rank with only 200 plus matches. The reason I'm showing you this is because in this video, I want to share what I learned so far for you to get higher than this. This video is meant to help fellow gamers who wish to get better, and most significantly, for those who are just starting out this game. I enjoy playing a variety of games. I therefore don't typically play only this type of game. However, if you do, you can succeed far more quickly reaching your rank goals. In this video, we'll do three things. One is to improve your gameplay, second is to provide the general tips, and three is all about the champion, which includes builds, runes, and particularly what I did using Urgot as a champion. What you're seeing now is my first time using Urgot in PvP to test him in a real match. Even though it may seem like we're gaining back the momentum here, but we'll use this match comparison to the second clip to point out things that we often miss out. To get there, I want you to think about and consider two things: why it is important to be explicit about your goals, and why concentrating on a micro can help you do better with a macro. Let's start with point number one. When you enter a ranked match, you are given a choice to pick a role. Every role has different sets of priorities and different functions within your team composition, which means your priority changes depending on your role. For example, you are playing solo as Urgot. Aside from getting familiar with the champion, you also need to consider your main priority and Baron lane, like when to rotate, when to engage, and when to retreat. I suggest you take note of the following. Learn lane control. This includes controlling minion waves and transition among other lanes. Distance. Since you need to get items by recalling, this takes time. Also, it is a good practice to calculate the time you need to spend in your current position while rotating. This way, in some situation, you can consider either pushing for another minion wave to distract opponent, force them to defend, or to simply know if it's the best time to leave your lane without compromising your tower. Being clear with your goals will help you improve your quick decision making and know what to do. This will help maintain momentum or find a way to break your opponent's momentum, but of course, teamwork is crucial at this point. This will take us to point number two, which is focusing on your micro and how this is going to help the macro. For beginners, to make it simple, you can think of micro as developing your own skills using your own champion within your team's composition. Basically, how good you are with the champion you play, while you can think of macro as having great synergy with your team, regardless of your composition, like team combos that you can come up with, and also the timing of each follow-up you contribute for greater team execution. Now, this is the deciding part of my first match, in which we lost. Given it is my first match playing this champion, my score alone isn't too bad. But the point I want to stress here is if your goal is to win, apply what you learn, and always remember your priority. Because scores, no matter how good you are, at the end, winning means Nexus getting destroyed. Now, moving on to the second match, using Urgot. This is still in PvP, and I'm going to test his durability, and as well as compare the two matches. During the first match, doing good in your mic play will not always result in winning the game, but it is fundamentally necessary in every game. Whereas in the second match, it is the opposite. I personally don't mind getting good scoring matches because having this mindset allows me to try new methods instead of being too occupied with scores. So, if you're new to this game or any games in general, allow yourself to fail and learn. Don't allow numbers to cripple you in trying new ways. Having said that, during this match, nonetheless, you'll find that I messed up in majority of occasions. However, I am completely aware of my priorities while preparing for opportunities when I find one, which means I'm going to focus on taking advantage with other factors rather than placing undue emphasis only for my gameplay. This is also to show that proper execution and trusting your team while having a keen eye on the macro side will provide a better chance of winning. Urgot excels in skirmishes, which means allowing yourself to take the initiative and with some help from your team will help you secure kills or even win a team fight. My role here is solo or Baron lane, so most champions selected here are often bruisers or initiators, which ideally excels with 1v1 duels with high sustain or tank. If you are playing in solo queue and if you're accustomed to only one type of role, then this will at least provide you some insight to the role. If you are just starting out playing in solo or simply Baron lane, you may start playing with bruisers and practice trading so that you will get used to the roles. This will also help you gain confidence in taking initiative, since most of the composition is crucial to have someone to go in front, basically to tank. Tanks are the one taking most damage. Your main priority in a team fight is to allow your team to get adequate positioning. I commonly observe some players are preoccupied with the idea of getting killed, so they refuse to take initiative. However, as a solo laner, you should consider leading the fight in most cases, especially to allow your carry to gain advantage, which means learning how to engage and not putting too much pressure on yourself in terms of your score. This will allow you to decide freely. It also means if you're tanking a team fight, the risk of dying more often is inevitable in the rest of your team. Just do your best to make sure your sacrifice is worth it. Always cooperate with your team, even if they don't ask you for it. The more you get used to your selected role, the more it becomes intuitive. The macro is far more complicated because it requires you to have a great grasp of overall game mechanics. This involves map awareness, timing, getting objectives, and developing team synergy, which can vary in every game when you play solo queue. This is why the point of developing your micro skills is a good way to start. Because you can adjust with other players' gameplay, especially if your composition involves having a great potential of team synergy. Now, during this part of my second match, my lane basically is messed up, and I allowed a lot of risk losing this match. But if you only think of the obvious, then you won't be able to realize the opportunity in the situation. The opportunity I'm referring here is that either Ulap or his teammate will likely think of attempting to do backdoor. And for beginners, the term backdoor refers to a strategy where you directly target the main objective while the opposing team is not aware. And in this case, it's going to be the Nexus. Now, for as long as we maintain control of the lane while we wait for an opportunity, they will likely separate, which gives us a chance to what the enemy by outnumbering them at least with a single enemy champion. At this point, I want you to pay attention to the minimap, as the enemy team is now separated. As I attempt to redirect enemy's attention to the top lane, while at the same time it gets better, since a column is found at the bottom. My team, on the other hand, is holding the mid lane, which is a good thing to maximize the split push, while the mid's minion wave stays at the middle. To gain momentum, I will regroup with my team and initiate a team fight. And you saw Akali push the bottom at the same time, so it is likely someone will rotate at the top to defend. And Akali's nearest lane to rotate is the middle, which is still gonna leave us with 4v5. Now watch carefully, since this is the deciding part of my second match. How we perform as a team is crucial for this attempt. If we lose this trade, then we will lose the match. Luckily, we won the trade. In most cases, you shouldn't lose hope when your team is behind, because during a late game, if you can manage to hold on and farm as much as you could, with the right mechanics, you can still find a way for an epic comeback. Also, a quick tip: if you're getting into a clash as a team, your main priority is their key champion. What I mean by that is you should prioritize champion that will likely cause your team to get wiped out. This can be their assassin or their ADC. Avoid targeting their tank as much as possible. So there it is. We managed to win the second match. And just as I mentioned, comparing the points between the first and second match, the main game changer is teamwork. During solo queue, you won't have any idea how your team would play, how they will rotate, or even how familiar they are with their role. And by that, it is best to focus on developing your own gameplay. A good way to start is to watch a replay from your match. Or you can simply watch pro tournaments and analyze their timing and as well as their positioning. Now, I will show you what I used to build Urgot. Let me start with the runes. For the keystone, I selected Conqueror since Urgot relies on basic attack. It will help him with stacking damage per hit and Omnibump after full stacks for sustain. I haven't tested Kraken Slayer, but you can try it. For the Domination rune, I selected Triumph since this will provide health restoration for takedown, which is necessary if you want to target low HP champions, and as well as additional 5% damage to low health champions below 35%. That impact can also be selected since Urgot has a death. For Sword Rune, I selected Bone Plating, so that I can focus on early trades in the early game as well as this can be good against Assassin that relies on ability combos. Nullifying Orb is also a good choice if you build for survival, and a good combo to his shield using his third skill. Lastly, Inspiration Rune. It is up to your preference, but I selected here Demolish if you're going to focus on enemy turret or pushing lane. His passive deals additional blast damage based on target's max health. His first skill applies damage and slows enemy after explosion. Using this needs you to get used to the delay in order to successfully hit the enemies around it. That is best in initiating or slowing enemy then escaping. His second skill deals rapid damage, applying on-hit effects at 50% effectiveness. This is only good if you're trading hits with the enemy. The downside is you walk slower, but at the same time you have slow resistance, which means if you are initially chasing or escaping, this will slow you down. So I suggest wait for the right moment to cast. This third skill is a good tool for extra durability, which provides a shield, and this will fling the first enemy champion over him and applies a stun while knocking away minions or monsters along the path. This shield can also help you survive during escape and provide extra mobility, but just remember you want faster terrains. Lastly, his ultimate, Urgot fires a drill in a direction. This passes through minions or monsters. The best time to use it is when your team is able to go all in with an enemy champion. You don't have to wait for the target to get into low health, since this will execute the enemy champion hit by the drill below 25%, which means you can cast it on set. For as long as you successfully hit the enemy champion and falls below 25%, this will still execute the target. After that, executing an enemy will apply fear to enemies around Urgot. This is a great tool whenever you are surrounded by enemies. You can actually cast your third skill, then cast your flash. For some who are already familiar with this trick, they usually call this cancel animation, which can be useful in some occasions whenever you are surprising an enemy. course. If we know how to use Urgot, we also need to know what we need to do when we go up against him. You can use Stasis Boot Enchantment right after Urgot got you with his ult. This will make him unable to recast his ult for execution if done correctly. Another is Guardian Angel. Now the name itself, you are going to need an angel when you fall below 25% health.
Okay.
Here are some item builds I recommend, but it is still up to you to mix and match, depending on what type of champion you go up against. Urgot can take advantage from kiting, so items that both provide sustain and durability will allow him to maximize his potential in a team fight. Items that can add some extra edge for basic attack damage can also be beneficial. Searing Crown is a new item added in 4.1 patch. The passive from this item could help put some extra burn when you hit enemies. That could help secure Urgot's ult, will help in lowering a champion's health while also providing vitality and armor. So depending on what type of enemy champions you have, you should also know better counter items necessary that could help you survive. Also getting familiar with your role and priorities should also complement your item builds, and as well as gameplay mechanics. For example, if you are an initiator, you need durability. If you are an assassin who needs burst damage, go for offensive items that could help you during power spikes and so on. If you got this far, please smash the subscribe button so that I can continue creating more content like this for everybody.